Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. And I am here today with an expert. She has her PhD in natural medicine. And this is going to be all about body image, having a healthy body image, why we might not have a healthy body image, what to do about it. And her name, now I want her to correct me if I'm wrong, so I'm taking a stab at it, is Stacy Berman.
Stacy Berman.
Berman.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. That almost sounds like there's a coat factory around here. Stacy Berman. Let me start over. Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. Today I am here with body image expert Stacy Berman.
Hello, hello.
And I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Stacy because there's a lot to tell, but we're just going to tell no, wouldn't it be cool to tell the unfiltered story?
I would get in trouble.
We'd be in trouble. Stacy Berman. Oh my God. I have the giggles today. I'm sorry, you guys. Is the founder of The System by Stacy, a luxury line of organic whey protein powders. She holds a doctorate in natural medicine and is completing a business degree at Columbia University. Her background combines over 20 years in the health and fitness industries with scientific research to reveal how our thoughts affect the way we feel. Stacy's transformative programs are sought out by individuals and companies who want to understand the science behind weight loss and self-perception. Her work on body image disorders, I probably have one, I might have more than one, have been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Healthline, The Doctors, ABC, NBC, and CBS. Welcome, Stacy, to the show.
Thank you, Linda. I'm so happy to be here.
You are so welcome. We were talking about this a little bit before, and just kind of a little headliner to dive in is I remember when I was a young girl and the Go-Go's were popular. Belinda Carlisle, and if this is before your time, you'll have to Google it and look it up, which is something we couldn't do back then. She said that when you get older, it's either your butt or your face. You have to decide which one's going to look good. And, as a young girl, that really stuck in my mind. And I remember saying to my mom, well, if that's the case, I want to look good now. And when I get older, I'm going to go ahead when I'm, 70, I'm going to enjoy my life. And if I start getting wrinkles, I'll just start eating cheeseburgers and pizza and I'll fill my face out with body fat and I won't have wrinkles. And she's like, honey, it doesn't matter how old you get. You'll always care about how you look.
Exactly.
Now, take a stab at how wrong that is. No. Oh my gosh.
Well, I think the truth is that, unfortunately, like we as women have been kind of prized for what we look like and our ability to have children and sometimes like political marriages and stuff. So, but it really has been based off of what we look like. So whether or not we like it, we've been indoctrinated to believe that this is our highest value. And although, rationally we know we're so much more than what we look like, that stuff is still so ingrained in us that it's really hard to get away from. So your mom's kind of right.
She's kind of right. Well, I know there's a lot of science behind the way we think about ourselves, because we were talking before we started, and what actually translates into our body. What is a connection? What is epigenetics? What is that?
So I wrote down the definition just so that it's totally clear. But epigenetics is the study of cellular and physiological traits, or to put that in other ways, external and internal environmental factors that turn our genes on and off. Okay? So in essence, epigenetics is what triggers certain genes to translate themselves. But one gene can translate itself in tens of thousands of different ways. So for example, if high blood pressure runs in your family, you are not predestined to get high blood pressure. It's based off of the different factors, internal and environmental factors, that may or may not trigger that gene to express itself, and then you come out with high blood pressure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, how that works in terms of ourselves, our physical bodies, is that when you have a thought, the thought releases, or rather, you have a thought, which is a mental image or idea. Your body picks up on what that thought is and then starts releasing biochemicals in line with that thought. And then your brain picks up the biochemical messengers that your body is sending out and starts thinking in line with that thought. And now you've affected your nervous system and the wiring of your brain, and you've affected the biochemistry of your body. So that, in terms of like what we're talking about, body image, if you look at yourself and you see something negative, you're going to release particular biochemicals, which are going to make your which is going to make your body feel a certain way. It's going to make your genes and cells express themselves in a certain way, and then you're going to start picking these feelings up, and you're going to start thinking in line with these thoughts. So you then become biochemically attached to this state of being. Does that make sense?
Thoughts are powerful. Be careful what you're thinking up there.
One thought can release up to 30,000 different neurochemicals. Boom, mind blown. So like if you have one thought about how you look and it's negative, you're releasing biochemicals in line with that thought. And what do you think that's doing to your physical body?
Oh, it's changing it. I mean, it's crazy, but I guess we become our thoughts, not just what we eat. You know how they always say you are what you eat, but it's what you think. You are what you think.
Exactly. And I think,
and what you say.
Well, what you think, what you say, your body hears everything your mind says. Your mind hears everything your body is feeling. So in a very real way, you are that, you become that. That is the information that your body uses to reproduce itself.
Wow, that's powerful. And it kind of goes along with an exercise. I've heard it twice in my last two podcasts, and here we are again. So I think 3 times is a charm. Exactly. But Todd Durkin has these bands that say, get your mind right. And when you're not having a good thought, you snap the band. And JJ Virgin said this mindset expert gave her the idea of a rubber band around her wrist, and whenever she had a thought that was negative, she would snap the band and delete the thought and replace that thought.
Exactly. That's exactly right. I have a technique that I use with people. And so the whole point of that is you have a thought and it triggers a certain neural pathway, right? So the thing with the rubber band is you want to interrupt that neural pathway. And the more you interrupt that neural pathway, the weaker it gets, the more pruned back it gets. And then you replace it with a positive thought, which creates neural pathways around that positive thought. And then you start training your brain to scan for more positive things rather than negative things.
Yeah, you have to rewire your thinking and retrain your brain.
Exactly. Just like you would go to the gym and train your legs or whatever, that's your brain works in a similar way. It's consistent, prolonged brain exercise, really.
And wouldn't that go along with the philosophy then? It's kind of like your computer, right? You're putting all this information into it. So really, wouldn't it be important what you're filling your mind with?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The brain. So here's another mind-blowing stat, but the conscious mind processes approximately 40 bits of information in 1 second. The subconscious mind processes 40 million bits of information in 1 second. Now so that's a huge difference. Your subconscious mind is in control of 95% of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. So just in terms of like
how much? 90 you said?
95%.
95? Holy crap.
Yeah, are based off of your subconscious mind, which is picking up to 40 million bits of information every second.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's really wild. And this is crazy, but sometimes you know how you're like, I'll be listening to a podcast, or I'm studying an advanced hormone course from the School of Integrative Nutrition right now. And I'll be, you know how you kind of go on autopilot at times, or I'll be sprinting uphill because I have a show in 2 weeks. Yeah. And I will all of a sudden, oh gosh, I missed that whole bit. Like, yep. I missed it. And then I said to myself this morning, that's okay. Your subconscious mind picked it up. You don't have to replay it. Well, so now I know it's true.
Well, so the thing is, it is absolutely true. It is somewhere in your subconscious mind, but that's probably a more positive way that you're picking up information in the subconscious mind. It doesn't filter for content. So whether you're just kind of watching a TV show, let's say, and there's like pictures of these like airbrushed models and this and that, and like totally unrealistic images of women, your subconscious mind is picking that up as well. So it's good and bad. So yes, you may not pay attention to the podcast as you're sprinting, but you're somehow getting it, but you're also somehow getting the bullshit too.
Well, can I just tell you how powerful it was this morning? My song was, I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sprinting until to it. And here I am coming on with the body image expert today. And I all of a sudden got all these ideas. So subconsciously, the music was totally working for me. And I came up with my new book title. I came up with my new weekend getaway, which Stacy is going to be a part. And I came up with exercises that are going to be like a woman's fire walk, like Tony Robbins, but it's going to be in a different way. So I totally have to say, I was consciously listening, but I was also subconsciously listening because I wasn't sure how focused I was when I was sprinting at like 8.5 on a 4 incline.
Right.
I was just trying to get through it. I was like, oh my God. So, oh my gosh. This is too fun today. I'm really excited about this topic. I know it's a struggle that women have. And how can they, if they've changed their body per se, let's just say this, because I see this all the time in my studio, where a woman gets in shape, 100% looks like amazing, changes her body, and we all see it, but she hasn't adjusted her mindset yet. Mm-hmm. So that would be then a body image problem. Right. Okay, can you tell us what can she do then to catch up or to fix that and rewire her brain to realize her body image is rocking?
Yeah. So one of the really simple exercises that I give people, and I mean, it's so basic, it's almost silly, not silly, but it's so simple that people are like—
Simple is good. We like simple here.
So is gratitude journaling, specifically in relation to the physical body. Now, why this works. So remember earlier I said that really what a negative self-perception is that we constantly look for what's wrong with us. So that's neural pathways in the brain that keep us thinking those thoughts and keep us scanning for these particular, parts of our bodies that are not where they should be, quote unquote. By gratitude journaling regularly, we start pruning back those neural pathways that keep us scanning for the negative, and we re-upload ways to look at ourselves that create new neural pathways. Then eventually, over a period of time, the more you do the gratitude journaling, the more it prunes back those neural pathways associated with negative thought and re-upload the positive ones, and then we start scanning for the positive. So it's really just kind of replacing one network of neural pathways for another one. So gratitude journaling.
And Tony Robbins is on the brain this morning, but I literally listened to something from him. I think it was like a podcast where he was speaking about how we have these neural pathways that we've built that are our comfort zone. And so when somebody starts working out and exercising and changing their body, what happens is they get in this new body and they're not comfortable in it, because this is a new space and it's the unknown. So they start to sabotage themselves to put themselves back in their comfort zone because they're not comfortable in their new zone.
Right.
And his suggestion was then to stay in the new zone, realize that why you would self-sabotage, and push forward until you develop that new neuro pathway.
Right, exactly. So one of the things that it's exactly along those lines. So what I was saying earlier, right? You have a thought, then your body picks up that thought, releases biochemicals, then your mind picks up the biochemicals and reinforces that thought. And now you're stuck in this thinking, feeling cycle. And it becomes so ingrained in you, you become chemically attached to this space. I mean, literally, it's like a drug addiction. Your body and mind become addicted to feeling this particular way. And it's not necessarily that it's a good place, but it's a familiar place. So in the familiar part of it, it feels comfortable. So yeah, it really is about when you go through a process like this, it's gonna feel uncomfortable because you don't recognize those feelings, aka biochemicals that are being released in the body. You don't recognize these thoughts, aka the nervous system signaling you, because you've never been there. So change and the unknown is always uncomfortable initially until you get comfortable with it. So yeah, it's exactly right. You become addicted to this familiar space of whatever it is, negative self-perception in this case.
Wow. Yeah, 100%. You have to get uncomfortable. And that was the thing, is people are all about comfort, and they may have fears, and the fears a lot of times, really, if they would just put themselves in that uncomfortable situation, the fear would melt away and they would realize this is just something they've built up in their own minds. And I know, like, with maybe somebody overweight, not wanting to go to the gym, they have it's not their comfort zone. But I say, just face your fear, go in, get uncomfortable, because that's where change happens.
Exactly. And there's I forget, Mel Robbins? I don't know.
Oh, I love her. Yeah, Mel Robbins. The 5-second rule.
Exactly. And it's so true. The mind is designed to keep the organism safe. And so anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, your mind is going to try to override really soon, because back in the day, you didn't want to get into any experiences which may kill you. And when you lived in a cave and had to hunt and all that stuff, you may get killed quite easily by anything. So your mind is designed in a way that will keep you from taking those steps. So you have to just say, F it sometimes and do it, even when it is uncomfortable, because like you said, that's when the change and growth happen.
Yeah, it is so true. Just even the most, if you can push yourself to the most, like the thing that scares you the most, and push yourself to do that thing, you will get benefits beyond belief. Like, you will be less afraid to do so many more things. Yeah. And this is when you're going to see yourself growing and flourishing and reaching new heights and reaching new dreams. And just, it's everything to just embrace the fear instead of stay back in your comfort zone.
Right, exactly. One of the exercises I sometimes do with people, because, you know, everybody has fears, is like taking their fear and working it back to its natural beginning. So what I mean in this case, like if we're talking about someone who's overweight and scared of going to the gym, well, why are you scared of going to the gym? I'm scared of going to the gym because I feel insecure and people may make fun of me or judge me. Well, why does that matter? And like what, and you know, you kind of just follow it back and just keep asking yourself, why? And then eventually, usually.
Oh, I love that exercise.
Usually you get to like something that happened in childhood that has kind of stuck into the subconscious mind that is, again, affecting your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in your adult life. But following that fear back to its original point is a really powerful tool to start to let it go and then start making changes.
Well, yeah, because you keep following that fear back and you'll find the root cause.
Exactly.
And it might surprise you what it ends up being. Exactly. And then you're going to be like, oh, this is silly.
Right.
Or, you know, oh, that's why I feel this way. Because maybe you don't even know why you feel that way.
Right.
And another person kind of coached me with your fear. And then what? And then what?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then what will happen? And then what?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the same thing as why, and then what.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. I think it's pretty powerful. It's a pretty powerful exercise, and you might be surprised the answers you're going to come up with.
It is. And I mean, I was telling you earlier, I'm 42 now, and I still do that exercise, and constantly things are revealed to me. I'm like, oh God, that's why.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. It just clicked off so many thoughts in my brain. That's a whole nother podcast though.
Right.
So let's dive into, we have a woman, she is thin and beautiful and in shape, but she used to be 200 pounds, but she hasn't been that way for a while, but she still sees herself in that realm. Mm-hmm. What type of exercises and things can she do to see herself the way she is and to begin healing this body image dysmorphia?
Right. I mean, the first step in any healing process is really becoming aware. So the first thing that I have people do is in terms of body image stuff is stand naked in front of the mirror and take note of what your natural thoughts are. So that would really give you a good baseline to start understanding what's going on. So like you said, the woman was totally fit and but used to be overweight. If you look at yourself in the mirror and still see that overweight person, then you know that there's a deeply ingrained belief about yourself that we have to start unpacking. First step, awareness. Second step that I actually have people do with body image disorders is doing a dialogue with the body. So literally you could write a letter or a journal to your body and be completely frank and honest. I dislike you because blah, 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 whatever, fill in the blank. But then also allow your body to speak back to you. And now this is a very powerful tool because it gives the body a chance to express itself, which I think we think we're functioning in the conscious mind all the time, but actually, like I said earlier, we're mostly functioning in the subconscious mind. And that's the language of the body. But if you don't give the body a chance to speak, you never know what the body is trying to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So dialogue. Then one of the really fun exercises that I have women do, and it's a little risque, so I hope you don't mind. But so first awareness, second dialogue, to really unpack what what your body is saying and what you're saying to your body, to see where you guys are kind of in conflict. And then of course, in order to start shifting your perception, you could do the gratitude journaling type of thing. But the fun one that I was just referring to is what I call orgasm into mirror gazing. Now, let me explain. So,
sounds really interesting.
Yeah. So you've heard of.
So I can have an orgasm looking in the mirror? No.
Well, you don't have to do it in the mirror. You gaze after mirror, after orgasm. So you've heard of the hormone oxytocin, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Oxytocin is a hormone related to bonding and feelings of love. So now, outside of childbirth and breastfeeding, orgasm is one of the most powerful tools to release oxytocin. So you kind of biohack the body to release this chemical. And then immediately after, you go and you gaze at yourself in the mirror. So now gazing at a person or an animal has also been shown to release small bursts of oxytocin. Now, if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, you need that between you as a mother and a newborn child, right? You want to have that bonding, loving feeling. So that gazing into another person or animal's eyes, that's what happens. So kind of evolution has designed it this way. So now you biohack with the orgasm, you flood your body with oxytocin, you look at yourself in the mirror, it's continuing to release little pulses of oxytocin. But now what's going on is you're creating the neural connection between that feeling of love and bonding with your own reflection. So over the long term of doing this, depending on how often you do it, you now associated your own image with that feeling of love. And then,
so speaking to yourself in the mirror is perfectly okay, right?
Absolutely. Just only do it if you feel comfortable, if people are around. If not, don't have anybody else there. They might think you're insane. But it's true. And then again, we go back to this idea that you have this. So in this instance, you've kind of biohacked yourself to feel this particular way. Then you have this thought, which is the thought is your own reflection. And then your body picks up the thought that you're having between you and your reflection, which is that of love and bonding, because you just released this chemical in your system. You reinforce this feeling, and then your mind starts picking that up, and you continue thinking in line with that feeling. Does that make sense?
Yes, total sense. And it also brings up a thought. Everything always boils down to self-love.
Exactly. Well, that's it. I mean, what is self-perception is a rejection of the self. It's a no, I don't love you, or I love you conditionally type of mindset, even though maybe you don't think that on a conscious level. That is how it's translating in your body. So it does, when you shift your self-perception to be more loving and accepting, then we are talking about self-love. But that's also not just this kind of highfalutin spiritual language. It's actually affecting the biochemistry in your body. It's affecting your nervous system. And that has real and measurable effects on your metabolism and waistline and immunity and cell reproduction and hormone production. So it affects every function of the body.
Wow. And it's you should love yourself. It shouldn't be when I'm 110 pounds, when I wear a size 8, when the love has to start today. What are some ways that you can help people to just start creating that self-love within themselves now.
Yeah. So I just one point to make on that is that idea that you will love yourself when you get to X, Y, and Z. So again, you're kind of putting the goalpost over there. But what happens neurologically is that if the goalpost is over there, even when you get there, the goalpost is still farther out because you've trained your brain to always think it's out there. So by shifting that and learning right now in this moment to love yourself, then you create the neural pathways to love yourself in the present moment.
Right.
So that's the first point. Second point, in terms of tools and techniques, gratitude journaling, orgasm and mirror gazing, interrupting the negative thought, like we were talking about before. So once you recognize that you have a negative thought, interrupt it and replace it with a positive thought. Now, the positive thought has to be something that you actually believe, because for example, if you think you're not beautiful and you have a thought and you say, well, I'm beautiful, but you don't actually believe that, then your subconscious mind knows that you don't actually believe it. And so it kind of disregards that. So it could be something as small as, I have great feet, or I'm having a very good hair day. So anything that the mind and conscious or subconscious mind can't argue with. So you interrupt the negative thought, replace it with something that your mind can't argue with. And again, that goes back to the pruning back of the neural pathways associated with negative thought and re-uploading or creating neural pathways that are associated with more positive thoughts.
The science behind it is really fascinating to me. And we were talking a little bit about the science before we started. Can you dive a little bit more into this whole science of how my positive thoughts could decrease my metabolism or increase my metabolism?
Yeah. So in short, I'm gonna give you a kind of rundown of how this works. So remember what I said earlier, which is that the subconscious mind doesn't filter for content, right? So whether you're listening to I'm So Sexy or you're looking at magazines of models that are unattainable and blah, 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 your subconscious mind is picking all of that stuff up. Now, so the subconscious mind picks up the negative thought that you're having. Now, what happens is you have the autonomic nervous system, which, have you heard of autonomic nervous system? It's the sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So the fight or flight and the rest and digest, okay? So fight or flight, stress response. When you have this negative thought, your body, mind, autonomic nervous system is picking this up. Now, negative thought, your subconscious mind is not filtering for content, and it's triggering it as if it was not an attack, but
okay,
you know what I mean? It is triggering.
It is an attack.
Yeah, right. Actually, it is. It's getting triggered. So the thing is, when the stress response or sympathetic nervous system is turned on, all functions of the body that are not related to survival of the organism get either shut down or diminished. So that means metabolism, digestion, hormone production, every function of the body. So when you have that negative thought, you're triggering the stress response and all the other functions of the body that are not related to you surviving as an individual or organism decreases or degrades. So then, back to what we were saying before, that will then affect the biochemical makeup in the body, the nervous system, so on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So negative thought is depending on how intense your body image disorder is, could be anywhere from a micro aggression to the self to a major aggression to the self, and your nervous system is reacting to that.
Okay. So when we're having these negative thoughts, sometimes it comes from what people say to us.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost, I know it's really hard what you're saying to yourself, but one of the hardest things, I believe, to get past or get out of your head is when someone else says something very negative to you that may or may not be true.
Right.
Now, what would be something you would recommend? Let's say somebody says to you, you're overweight and you're always going to be overweight.
So, I mean, first of all, I would say you probably don't need that person in your life.
It wasn't some, you didn't ask for the advice. It was a volunteer, a passerby, somebody that's at work. So
yeah. So the first thing is you're overweight. Okay. So I think looking at that statement, you have to recognize that you are overweight is a statement of fact, right? It's not, although the person may have meant it in a negative way, that statement on its own could just be a fact. And you and they are implying a positive or negative to it. So I would say in that instance, recognition that okay, I mean, they're being assholes. Okay, let's leave that off to the side for a second. But that it's a statement of fact. You are defining it as positive or negative. So shifting your perspective on that and just being yeah, I am. There's no intrinsic good or bad to that. It's only the meaning that you give to it. I think, to interject for a sec, when I was a kid or younger woman, if I was 5 pounds overweight, that was emotionally painful for me. That it painful in a way that I felt guilty. I felt like I wasn't worthy of love. I felt all of these emotions tied up in it. Now, as a 42-year-old woman, I actually just came back from vacation on Sunday, and I ate for 2 weeks straight. And I don't know, I don't get on the scale anymore, but I feel it, but now it's just a statement of fact. I'm probably a few pounds up, but there's no negative emotions surrounding that. And that took a long time to get to. So again, it's a statement of fact. It's not good or bad. It's a statement of fact. And then in terms of the next part of the statement of you'll never be anything but that, then you have to start exploring, is that how you feel? Do you feel like you will always be like this? And if you do feel like that, why? And then again, get to that root.
I think when the comments sting, there's always a part of it that's true.
Right.
If you're upset about it. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that, doing that process, although it's painful and it's tiring and it hurts and all that stuff, that getting all the way down to the root will give you clarity and awareness. And then from that point, you could really start making the changes. Because if you don't believe that, then it doesn't fucking matter. It's only at the point where you actually believe that it becomes a problem.
Right. Because if this comes from another podcast, but if someone tells you you're a pineapple, are you a pineapple? No, you're not a pineapple. Right. So don't accept people's statements as beliefs about yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me ask this. When it comes to what are your philosophies and beliefs around, let's just say I am who I am. Is that enough? And I should feel perfectly fine with myself, regardless of whether I am a size 16 or I am a size 2. What is your take and philosophy on that?
So I think that whether or not you should feel good about yourself and love yourself no matter what, absolutely across the board, you should always love and accept yourself. There's no question about that. It's a hard yes. I think, though, that there are also health concerns. I think there also, again, mind body is one unit, and that even though most people think they live up here, we are one. We are one. So if you're not taking care of your body, that absolutely, unequivocally will have effect on your mental function, on your productivity, on your energy levels, on your joints, on your organs, on your everything. So yes, you should always love and accept yourself, but that doesn't mean you should be complacent. That means you should want to live your most healthy self. Now, that's not to say you should be a size 2. That just means take care of yourself.
Right. And the reason why I bring up that question is I feel there's a lot of body shaming in our country, and I'm against body shaming of any sort.
Right.
So body shaming, whether I'm too, skinny, people body shame you, or body shaming me because maybe I'm not skinny,
Right.
So I just, what's your take on this, and why do you think people do it?
I mean, I think that, again, it goes back to this whole idea of like fitting into a particular societal standard, and women are valued for that and have been historically valued for that. So, so my take on it is that it's an unfortunate state of being at this moment. I think people do like body shame other people because they're probably insecure themselves.
Yes, 100%.
And it's just like, do you want to take on their bullshit? No, not really. So, I mean, a really practical tool, if somebody's body shaming you, if it's an actual person in your friends.
This is a frequent thing, okay? This is a real problem. I can't tell you how many days, how many times I have somebody on a good plan and they face this from their loved ones, from the people they work with, from their friends. I mean, this is a real problem where, they're either shamed because they're working out too much, or they're shamed because they're not working out enough.
Yeah. And I think at that point, there are two different kind of ways to approach this. One is evaluate the people that you're spending time with. Because in a very real way, you resonate with those people, right? So if they're body shaming you and you're around them all the time, you're picking this stuff up. So evaluate who you're hanging out with. And if you can make changes, make changes. The other part is because sometimes, like if it's people at work, maybe it's not so easy to leave your job and find another one. Then you have to take active steps to block those ideas from kind of getting absorbed by your subconscious mind, and also learning how to release that stuff.
Yeah. So when somebody comes to you and you are eating healthy, and they attack you for eating healthy, what would be an instance of something you would say to them?
Fuck you. That's my personal approach.
Oh my God, you're killing me. Oh my God.
I mean, really, that's my approach, but I don't recommend it to everyone. But if you really,
everybody out there is cheering because they probably thought that.
I mean, if you really want to get into it,
Oh my gosh.
what did you mean by that? Why would you make fun of me, or why would you make a comment about the things that I'm eating? And really, when you start engaging someone, even if what they've initially given to you has been negative and insulting, when you usually engage them, you start recognizing that they're scared. They don't want you to change because then that reflects poorly on them, or, so
now you're cooking with gas.
Fuck you approach. It's like engage them in a conversation, try to understand, also express to them, look, I'm working really hard. What you just said to me bothered me. And I don't think your intention was to insult me, or maybe it was, but explain why you said that to me. Because then again, it goes back to the whole communication thing, right? Like, you said something, maybe you don't even realize it's insulting, but I picked it up as insulting. So I'm going to tell you it insulted me. I want to understand what your perspective is, and then I'm going to explain to you my perspective. I mean, it's just communication.
Well, it's being strong in the face of adversity, because they are putting you on the grill in front of others, which is embarrassing. So I usually have always thought, if somebody doesn't mind embarrassing me in public, they won't mind being embarrassed back. By me just being direct and asking them, why are you saying that to me? That's very offensive.
Yeah. I mean, so what just came to mind a little bit was, so a few months ago, I was sitting in a cafe, and there was a younger woman who was obviously in school. She was studying. There's a college near my house, so I know she was in school. She's studying, and another guy walks in and starts trying to have a conversation with her. And she's just trying to study. She's just like taking notes from her book. And I watched this very uncomfortable scene for about 5 minutes. And eventually I just said to the guy, sir, I think she wants to continue studying. And initially he got insulted, and he thought that I was like saying something negative about him. And I was like, sir, I didn't say anything negative about you. I just said, I think she wants to continue to study. And I think that that's a really good approach in this stuff, right? Because, I mean, the fuck you is kind of like an insult. So maybe now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I'll say that. But as long as you don't insult the other person, then the other person is not going to get defensive. So this means you being the bigger person at the moment. But if you're like, that bothered me, that hurt my feelings, what did you mean by that? Rather than being like, you're an asshole, then everybody's defensive. So I feel like that, and eventually with that guy, he got it. He was like, oh, okay. And he left us alone. And I think that any kind of, even a somewhat rational person would recognize, oh, right, that was kind of fucked up what I said. I'm sorry. Or maybe not, but maybe they won't insult you next time.
Well, I think too, saying the question back to them,
right,
makes them realize what they said. Like, right. If you repeat the question back to them,
right,
it kind of gives them a second to process what they're actually saying to you. Exactly. And that you're unafraid to go head to head on that if they want to keep messing with you. Exactly. Most people don't like that very much. Yeah. And my father used to, like, if somebody would be kind of insulting or whatever, he never took it personally, because it really isn't personal. It's really more them than it is you. And he would just say, well, thank you. He would say, well, thank you for that. And it worked like a charm. You couldn't really do anything to ruffle his feathers.
Yeah.
Because then what are they going to do with that?
Yeah.
They weren't able to unnerve you.
Exactly.
So, and you're kind of showing them how mean they're being by thanking them for it.
Shit, I was just an asshole, wasn't I?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how is our mind, our body, and our spirit, how are they all connected? I know we're talking about how our thoughts rule our body, what we speak. How is that all connected, and why should we care that it's all connected?
Yeah. So I kind of talked about it a little bit before, but that the mind and body are not separate. They are one complete interacting machine that has 2, 3, 4-way communication at any given point. So even to say mind and body, that's creating a duality that is just not there. It's not there. You can't just be a brain or a head. You can't just be a body. So again, it goes back to this idea that every thought you think, your body feels and reacts to, and every feeling that your body has, your mind picks up and reinforces. So whether that's self-perception, whether that's unhappy relationship, whether that's not feeling fulfilled, and that kind of is more kind of spirit stuff, right? Whether you feel fulfilled or connected, like all of these things, your being is picking up and reacting to. So it's important, because if you're, and I'm just going to use those words because we don't have any other words to express it, but if you feel unfulfilled in your life, if you look at yourself and you dislike what you see in the mirror, if you're in a bad relationship or whatever, these are having real and measurable effects on your physiology, on your function, on your mental clarity, on your state of being. It's affecting the people you're attracted to, the people that are attracted to you. It's affecting your function at work, at home. It's affecting everything in very real, tangible ways. So I would say that's important. I would say that's absolutely.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because it's the whole circle. So when you're getting fit and healthy, well, it isn't just about what I eat and exercise. It's my relationships, it's my environment, it's so many things. Exactly. That it's the IIN circle, Integrated School of Nutrition. Right. But they talk a lot about it, and but to me it's everything. So if I'm eating green leafy vegetables and I'm sprinting as I did today like crazy, like a banshee, that isn't going to matter if I'm filled with cortisol because I'm in a horrible relationship, or if I'm just under fire at work or whatever, wherever the stress is coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to say also that that it's not to say that you should walk around being this happy fake person, right? Emotions are normal. The problem happens when you are not authentic for yourself, to yourself, and when you don't release those feelings. So if you have a bad day, it's okay to be in a bad mood. But if that bad mood continues because you don't have any tools or techniques to learn how to release it, or if you look at yourself in the mirror and you continually talk shit about yourself and that's affecting your nervous system, which means you're not actually releasing that is when it becomes a problem. It's okay to not be happy all the time, and that's actually normal. It's abnormal to be happy all the time. So I don't want people to think that this is all about being happy and sunshine and rainbows. This is about fully expressing all of the emotions that you feel, but simultaneously releasing them and not holding on to them, because any emotion that is not expressed and released will get stuck in the nervous system and affect all of your thoughts, feelings, and actions.
That's pretty powerful. So I'm sure we're going to all walk away today with a lot of information that could truly help us, and some simple ways. You've given us some really simple ways to start changing those things that we didn't, maybe today people listening didn't really understand how things were affecting them, but just the simple exercise of when you have a fear of asking why, right, and then what, that could really change a person's life. Yeah. And I know you have a book coming out soon.
Yeah.
Can you tell the audience a little bit about the book and when it's going to come out?
Yep. So the book will be coming out probably by the end of 2018. It's called The Science of Self-Perception, Spirituality, and Weight Loss. And it covers all of this stuff. It's, you'll get some, exercise and nutrition tips, but I've kind of left that off because it's been overdone. And this is all really mindset techniques to affect the biochemistry, nervous system in order to enhance weight loss. And then the added benefit is that once you shift your mindset, especially as a woman, all of that nonsense that we pick up and think about ourselves and body image, that takes up a certain amount of bandwidth in the brain. So once you shift all that stuff, you free up that bandwidth to become these amazing, badass women. So you actually, it's just like kind of doing spring cleaning, but on your mind. You free up space, and now you have a lot more space to do stuff.
And the people you surround yourself with, doing a little spring cleaning there once in a while wouldn't hurt, because then you free yourself up to be around amazing people that light you up inside.
Exactly.
Where can people reach you on social media?
So they can find me at Stacy Berman, PhD on Instagram. They could find me. My website is thesystembystacy.com. If they want to email me, Stacy at thesystembystacy.com. No E. No E in Stacy. And then on Facebook, also The System by Stacy or Stacy Berman, PhD.
Awesome. And for my last question, which is a three-parter, what are 3 simple truths, and it can be funny or serious, that you can leave with the audience today?
3 simple truths. Okay. The first one I think is kind of goes back to the idea of love yourself. It doesn't fucking matter. 5, 10, 15 pounds, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Love yourself and use that as the platform to kind of jump off of. First. Second is be fearless.
Woo, yeah.
All of the things that you want are waiting just kind of on the other side of fear. And the other one I think is a little bit personal to me, but I think I've seen a lot of women with this issue, is define your own self. I think in our society, because it's such a patriarchal society, that as strong women or women who want to achieve certain things, we've had to play within this paradigm of the patriarchy, which is to say we've kind of had to play the masculine role in order to get ahead. And I don't want to play that game anymore. I want to play the game of the strong feminine. And so what I mean is define what that means for you. Define what a strong woman means for you, and then live that. Because that's really the only way we're going to change it. Otherwise, we're going to continue playing this game.
Oh, that was great. That was so great. And you guys, Stacy, you've got to show her some love in iTunes and review this podcast, because Stacy knocked our socks off today with empowerment, information, and love. And I do really have to say I enjoyed what you had to say when it was unorthodox very much. So thanks everybody for listening, and thank you, Stacy, so much. I just want to acknowledge your brilliance, your authenticity, and your willingness to help others.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was such a pleasure to be on, and I'm so excited to know you and participate in this.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for listening to the Sisterhood of Sweat.